Believe me, I get it. Between the politics these days, the polar ice caps melting, and your pocketbook being a little lean, I totally understand why you're hesitant to start a family. But here's what I want to say to you: families are the way we survive, literally. Creating families is the way we survive. And families are what's necessary to change the exact things that you're worried about. Society is built by families. Families are the unit, the smallest unit that builds a society. A society is made of families. And whatever happens to the family happens to society at large. And so, a lot of the things that we're worried about, if we focus on and are intentional about the families that we're building, we can see the ripple effect happen in other areas of our lives and on a large scale. Which, let's clarify this point, having children isn't the same thing as what I'm saying building a family, right? Families are built, they're not just created. They're not just you having children and they're just people here. Families are a structure, families are a strategy. They're just necessary for us to build civilization on top of. And families have been the foundation of civilization since civilization started. So here's what's tricky about building families and why it's overwhelming, and why there's the tendency these days to just say forget it, it's too much. It's just so easy to have children, literally, right? For most of us, it's just a matter of biology. As long as the biology is working, we are literally designed to procreate, to make more of ourselves. And so it's easier to have children than it is to build a family. And if you start having children before you think about building a family, then you're like, oh, wow, I've gotten myself into a bind here. It's a lot more than I bargained for. Because, yeah, building a family is more than just having children. It takes more intention, it takes more thought, um, it takes design, right? And it takes a lot of consideration. And so the biology can get us in a bind because we can just start having children before we've ever thought about what kind of family we're looking to build. And so I think what's good in this conversation, hey, by the way, I'm Vanessa. If we haven't crossed paths before, I'm Vanessa. I'm a pediatrician. I'm a stay at home mom now for over 20 years. And I take my love for, you know, um, caring for children and the families that are raising them. And now I channel that into this channel where I talk to moms like you who have legit overwhelm about this thing that we do call motherhood that has no map, has no manual, and we're just out here trying to make it do what it do. And so, as someone who doesn't know everything about motherhood and does not do it perfectly, I have been doing it long enough that I share with you some strategies, a few stories here and there that can give you context, can give you something to grab onto as you map out your own pathway to motherhood. So, anyway, now that we got that out the way, let's talk about like why, like really, what is the point of a family? When you think about, okay, I can just have children, why do I need to have it in the structure, in the context of a family? Well, family is the context that children need, the same way a house gives context to a home. When you say I have a home, somebody's expecting, they're visualizing some sort of structure that you live in the same way that that structure gives you protection, it gives definition. In the same way, that's what a family does for children. It gives children the sense of these are my people, and this is where we are. This is the confines of where we are. This is what belongs to us. This is what we can operate in and be ourselves in freely. This is where we are, that's separate from other places and other people. This is where we establish our world, and this is where I am safe to develop. um, And so that's what family does, in the same way that a house does that, or an apartment, or a mobile home, like whatever the structure is that you call home, there is a structure. Um, and that's what family gives for children. It lets them know who they belong to, right? That's why we have the last name situation. These are my people, right? My kids, my last name is Harris because I've married into a Harris family. They know we are the Harris family. And when we come across others of us that have that same last name and we're actually related, there it gives us context for who we are. Then they also have the context of my family. And when they come across those with my maiden name or those also related to me, it gives context for who we are. Then children know where they're from, not just where they're from locally in the country, but where they are from ancestrally, right? Yeah. Who are our people? So, for example, my kids belong to two different cultures, right? I am an American. I'm the first generation born here in my family, but I'm also West Indian, and so they have my husband's side of the family who is from the South, and then they also have my side, which is from the Caribbean. So they know who they belong to, like the expanse of it, or it can be the narrowness of who we belong to. Paying any attention to the popularity of ancestry.com, that's what that's all about. Like people were on this kick about, especially African Americans, where do we come from? We know we're not from here, right? We were brought here. So where do we come from? And specifically what nations and what tribes, and because that gives you a sense of self. Okay. And then when you're part of a family, it's what are we known for? So there are families that are known for their contributions in technology, for their pure wealth, and where that wealth came from. If it came from inventions, if it came from media, or if wherever it came from, like what are we known for? You can be known for something that is unpleasant. You can be known for something that is noble. You can be known for a particular craft that runs in your family. In my family, we do have a lot of carpenters, masonry. All of those things give you that context, gives you confidence. Hey there, Mama Bear. Have you noticed how hard it is for your family to get along these days? If they're not ignoring each other, then they're yelling at each other. And as the youngest in a blended family, more thrown together than blended, I know how angry attitudes ruin family relationships. So if you're tired of the awkward tension, of the constant misunderstandings, and the full blown arguments in your home, then I highly recommend the Communication Quick Fix. In just a few days, you will learn the skills that turn chaos into connection and keep you calm in any conversation. You can scan the QR code on your screen or you can click the link in the description. I look forward to working with you. Now let's get back to the video. It's all part of um, understanding the space that you take up in the world and what frames that. If you're just out here having children willy nilly all over the place, you are populating, but you are populating people who don't necessarily have purpose. They don't know, or they take a lot of time trying to define that for themselves because they were not given any context. So, family provides context for individuals. And without context, people spend a lot of time creating their own context, and where they go to find that may be healthy, may not be, right? Depending on their level of desperation, the desperation of the conditions that they live in. And so, sure, if need, I'm lacking context because I don't really tend to know who my family is, I may join a sorority. A guy will join a fraternity because they want that context. They want context. They want to be able to say, I'm part of this group. um, they affiliate with me, they support me. These are our traditions. This is what we do. This is what we're known for, right? Or they are into, or you can be into sports. That child will want to be on a team because that team gives them context. That team makes them feel a part of something bigger than themselves. And so they feel like they have purpose because they are a part of this team. But it's also why somebody joins a gang, because that gang has promised to be family for them. And sure, you have to do X, Y, and Z to jump into it. But hey, if I don't have any other family and I'm feeling very, very vulnerable, that's another thing, right? The same way a house provides, or your apartment or the structure you live in provides security for you, these people are offering security to the child who feels very vulnerable because they're just out here by themselves. They don't have family that they can call on, family who supports them, family who gives them definition. And so they look for definition somewhere. And if you don't provide it in a family, the children you are having will just go find it anywhere. We make family and having family sound really intricate and hard. It is the having a group of people that you know that you are a part of, that you know claim you, and that you know are for you and have made themselves responsible to developing you, right? When you are unable to care for yourself, and then to stay connected with you once you're an adult, because we're going to keep this thing going. There is a safety, there is a comfort in that, there's a confidence that that provides. Okay, so families are built. They're not just created, they are built. So if we use a building analogy, because you know that's my thing, if you use a building analogy, then you think of a house, you don't just you don't just plop something. There isn't something that you just plop down. Like it has to be built. And you start with something, and then there's an order to it, and there's structure, there's definition, and it happens over time. And then you fill it with, at the end, with the furniture that makes it comfortable and personable to you. And building a family is the same thing. It takes thought, right? It does. You got to think about it. You got to think about the family that you came from, right? And you think about what I liked about it, what I didn't, what was really great that I would love to continue in my own family, and what is trash and I'm going to get rid of. Like, you need to put that thought into it, because if you don't, like I said, everything is so automatic when it comes to family, right? Like, the biology for most of us is automatic. But what also is automatic is you just continuing whatever was before, unless you actually stop and think about, well, what has been happening? How has that been working? Is that what I want to continue? Should I do something else? It just takes some thought. And then you are joining your stuff to someone else who also is coming from, what's that? Who also is coming from their own experience in their family, and they should be having the same thought, like, okay, what served us well, what didn't, what is like a habit, what is an addiction, what is an attitude that has been running in this family that we just have, it's normal to us and we just kept it going. But when I look at the results of it, I'm like, well, that's whack, it's not even working, so why are we doing that? And then it's the bravery, the courage to say, okay, it's going to stop with me. But I'm saying that's the kind of thought you have to put into it, because it's the same way when you're building your, so you're building your home, you envision it. Like, you have a vision for what you want. You know how many square feet you're looking for, you know how many bedrooms, you know how many bathrooms, you know if you want a ranch, you know if you want a two-story, you know how much property you want to sit on, you know how you want to sit it on the property, you know if you want a basement, you know, like there's things that you have to think about and plan, but you plan it based on what you envision, what you desire, what you're aiming for. Is this the home? There's some homes you just buy it because you know you're not going to be there a long time. And then there's some homes that you build because we're going to be here. This is where we're going to be. And I see it as the home that our grandchildren will come to, and I see it as the home our great grandchildren, and where we'll have family dinners. Like, envision what you know how you want to live in the home. It's the same with a family. You envision how you want to live in that family, how the what the vibe is going to be like, what traditions we're going to have, what things matter, what is our foundation, right? You start a home with a foundation, but you can only know what foundation you need based on what you have planned. So certain size homes, and depending on how many stories, need a certain strength and depth of foundation. You can't just put a 5,000 square foot house on a foundation that's meant for a 2,000, because your foundation will crack and your house will crumble. And so once you envision what you want for your family, then you have to think about what kind of foundation would be needed for that. Um, is for what I'm envisioning, do we need to be living near other family? For what I'm envisioning, do I need to be home as the mom? Because the way I'm picturing my children growing up and the kind of adults I want them to be in this world that we're living in, do I need to be home, or can I do it? Can I still but I work from home, or do I work in an office because I have family close by that I trust and are willing to help? Like, these are the things that you put thought into in advance so that you're not just having kids and then figuring it out, because that's stressful. It makes sense why that would be stressful on you and anyone else involved and on that child, because you're just dragging them around figuring it out as you go. But you have the luxury of thinking about it, talking about it with your spouse and being like, this is what I'd like, what would you like, this is what I think would be necessary for us to accomplish what we're aiming for. And I'm using the word aim because right, family is not a science, it's an art. We're trying to plan, aiming our children for a certain bullseye. We're aiming them toward it. We can't make them hit it, but we're pointing them in that direction. And we are setting them up with the environment, with our own personal mindset and attitude and thought process. We're setting them up to be pointed in that direction. And when we see them veering off course, because we know where we're aiming them, we know then what we need to redirect. But you need to plan, right? You can't build something without planning. Not if you want it to last. There has to be some planning. It's not the kind of planning where you dot every I and cross every T and this is how it's going to go. It is the planning that when it comes to a family, this is what we're looking to see. We understand that we are raising adults. They are going to be adults. They are children for a time. They will not always be children. They will always be our children. They will not always be a child. And so we are raising them understanding that we want them to be adults, we want them to be self sufficient. Like, you have to think through what you envision as an adult who is a positive contributor to society, and whatever that definition is for you, whatever that's based on, that needs to be a part of your foundation. So for my husband and I, we are believers in Jesus Christ. He is our foundation. His word is our foundation. Our children knowing his word, our children seeing us worship him and pray and study and read the Bible and be in our church and be serving. Like, that is part of the foundation that we have built our family on. So you have to figure out what your foundation is and be clear about it, and be clear that the foundation matches what you're aiming for. And the foundation includes standards, right? What are the standards for your family? That's what you have to think about. What do we stand for? What are the things that are important to us? What are the things that we are going to continue, that we're going to incorporate, that need to be involved in our everyday life, that need to be a part of what we discuss and teach our children, because we want them to be familiar with that. If you're a family that's known for craftsmanship, you are artisans and you have a craft that has been passed down for generations. Well, part of your foundation is that you were going to teach your children that same craft. You want them to continue it, or at least you hope they do. And the way that you can aim them toward that is to teach them how to do it. And so you make sure that that's a part of what they're exposed to. But uh, exposure in general can be part of your standard. Our family is a retired military family, and so even if I wasn't the daughter of immigrants, by marrying my husband, I signed myself up to exposure, and that my kids would have exposure. There would be no such thing as us living in one town and living with family, and that was not going to be our thing. We did move, and so exposure is definitely part of our foundation. If you're enjoying the content, this would be a great time to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Okay, let's get back to the video. We've lived all over the country, and my kids have learned things about different areas of the country that they had to because we lived there. It wasn't about reading in a book. It wasn't about I heard about it on TikTok. No, we lived there, and so exposure is part of our foundation as a family. You cannot achieve something that you're not exposed to it. At some point, you have to be exposed to it, and for us as a family, we want to be intentional about what our children are exposed to. Have an aim, have a vision for your family, and then establish what the foundation will be that would help support that vision. And then, the next thing when you're building, you need to frame it out. You need to frame out what the house will look like. And the frame establishes the boundary of your home, the boundaries of your home. It's not just about the layout and how it's cute, but that's literally the boundary, the walls that make the boundaries of your home. And in the same way, when you are building a family, you need to frame it. You need to establish what are the boundaries. And those are the things in a family where you shape a child's character. Um, everything doesn't go here. Like they might do that at your friend's house, but we don't do that here because that doesn't fit the character of our family, the character that we're developing in you. And so that's why you have boundaries. Um, these are you are free to operate as you will within these boundaries. In my home, I do what I care to do in my home. It's my business. It's my home. You do what you do in your home. Likewise, in a family, um, there's a set of there's a way that we do things. There's a character that we're developing. You can't do whatever you want to with your children, right? Because that becomes abuse. But in terms of setting the tone for how we function, how we conduct ourselves, what we value, what goes here and what doesn't, what's allowed and what isn't, what um, what things you can do at what age, and what things are better suited for when you have the maturity to handle it. All of those things are unique to families, and they depend on the foundation, which depends on what you're aiming for. So when my daughter comes to me, as she often likes to do, and she's talking to me about what her friends can do at her house, that is her friend's business, because I don't know what if they're aiming for anything at her parents' house. I don't know, and whatever it is, it's not what I'm aiming for. So we're not going to do things the same. We're not going to have the same kind of boundaries, and that is fine. Families are not carbon copy. Families are unique because the people making them are unique. The experiences, the people building them, right? The experiences they come from are unique. The things they value are unique. And so the family will look different, but the family, having a family in and of itself is important because it it is why you can have order, because you grow up in a family where you understand that this is the definition of our family. This is how we operate. This is what we do, what we don't do. So that when you're in the broader society and someone says to you, this is not what we do in this society. Okay, our voting is how we decide what that's going to be, how the individual families decide what we can all agree on as the standard in our society. But it starts with a family. If a family has no structure, has no definition, the society that they live in will have no structure, will have no definition. So family is important because it literally is the building block of all the things that you see that are bothering you, that are concerning you, or that are blessing you, and that you're enjoying and you want more of. The integrity of a family is underneath all of that. And rather than being overwhelmed by it, the way life in general feels overwhelming, I'm telling you that you have agency. You have a say in what family means to you and how it's shaped, how it's structured, and what the boundaries are that you operate in, that you feel will, and that you hope will raise children to become adults who contribute positively and as much as possible live peaceably with all people. You have a say in that. You don't have to be overwhelmed and feel like family is happening to you the way other things in life feel like they're happening to you. If you want social change, one of the best things you can do is to be intentional about your family, because families have ripple effects in the world that you don't appreciate in real time. But if you look around at the people who are moving and shaking things in this world, you realize their family has been doing that for generations. And there's nothing that says that your family can't either. So when it comes to you being the mother of your children, you are the woman for the job. I'll see you next time. Take care.